Metro News Talkline continues. Dave and TJ. Coming up, Marshall University President Brad Smith will be hosting another one of his fireside chats. Joining him will be entrepreneur, author, and financial literacy advocate John Hope Bryant. He's the author of the new book, Capitalism For All. I wonder if TJ would be interested in talking about this book at all. Let's jump into it. Joining us on Metro News Talkline this morning is the aforementioned John Hope Bryant. John, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
I'm honored to be here on the 250th anniversary of America and the 100th anniversary of Carter G. Woodson's Black History Month. You can't make this up. The coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And the one thing that you didn't mention, I'm also chairman of Bryant Group Ventures, so I'm for-profit. I have a for-profit and nonprofit company. And the thing that you didn't mention, I think is relevant for those in West Virginia, is I grew up in one of the 250 poorest zip codes in America, Compton, California, and South Central Los Angeles, these urban zip codes. And now Forbes magazine, since I was here last, has come out with a list of the 250 greatest living self-made Americans in our history. And I'm number 145. And to go from the bottom to that list, which is really distance travel, it's not about net worth, it's distance travel. My friend Oprah is number one on the list. For some context, Abraham Lincoln was number one on the historic list. Says a lot about America and what's possible. And I'm here to not just talk from a perspective of PhD, but PhD too. So what can people do practically now to change and transform their lives? That's why I'm here. And that's why I think I guess my point is my life has coincidentally become a proof point for the book I wrote.
Let's jump into that idea, John, because there's a lot of talk in the country and among politicians about capitalism. Socialism is gaining traction in certain factions across the country. But is the system the problem? Is the system broken, or is it our knowledge and participation in the system?
Neither. It's leadership. Look, the Bible suggests that money's not evil. It's the love of money that's evil. Capitalism's not bad. Bad capitalism is bad. So good capitalism is where I benefit and you benefit more. I combed my hair this morning. I took a shave. These are all inventions of entrepreneurship. I took a shower. That's an invention of entrepreneurship. That didn't come from the government. That was some entrepreneur. Everything you used this morning to get ready was the invention of an entrepreneur and the insertion of that into a market economy. And capitalism is private enterprise or private ownership of that thing, which gives personal benefit and agency for somebody to want to do it. And if you pay it forward, like Brad Smith and his wife are doing, where they went out, made wealth, came back to West Virginia, and are reinvesting it. Rockefeller did that. We can go down the list of most of the institutions of higher learning named after someone. That someone was able to endow it financially because they wouldn't make some money. Or put it another way, even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you first have to collect it like a capitalist. So it doesn't matter. People don't understand the system. So now this is the second part of your question, is you have intention and leadership. And then you have understanding, because it's what we don't know that we don't know, but we think we know. So there's no, you have communism, socialism, and capitalism. Now, there are other systems, but let's just make it simple for the moment. Even the biggest communist countries, China and Russia, have selected capitalism. Now, I'm not an advocate for either of those countries. But it's instructive that they gave up on their own system and have literally chosen ours. And China can't win in a fair fight. They can only win if we shoot ourselves in the foot, which we are, by the way, as a country, successfully doing. Everybody seems to want to be an American, but Americans. They realized that they can't win in a fair market economy. But they can steal our ideas, they can steal our patents, they can take what we've done, copy it, replicate it, and then promote misinformation here, use our freedom against us, use our freedom and our self-expression, plus our ignorance against us, plus our depression sometimes and our frustrations using freedom against us to then create dissension versus conversation. Because you can't go without constructive friction, but what we have now is destructive friction. So now the Bible says also, a house divided cannot stand. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just common sense to me. And all this goes back to leadership intention. Now, once you have leadership aligned, and attention is we all have to grow together. Diversity is a business strength. Nothing. It's not moral. It's a business strength, right? Diversity is growth, actually, economic growth. I can get into that mathematically. Then you say, okay, who understands this system? There is a problem because I think financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation. And mind you, I didn't say a Black civil right or a Latino or Asian civil right. There are more poor whites in America than poor anybody else. Little known fact. Middle class people have got too much month at the end of their money today. And people listening to this are saying amen to themselves in their car as they're hearing me say that about middle class. So where people are dying and struggling in privacy, they're frustrated, they feel like they're howling into the distance, no one's listening to them. And so when we need to teach these systems, now it's coming back around to your question, financial literacy, then how does capitalism work? I'll say this one last thing, I'll shut up. People say, oh, I hate rich people. My response, no, you don't. You hate rich people until you become rich. What you hate is a game system that no matter how hard you work, you can't seem to get ahead. And then you see some half-wit on TV who's half as intelligent and half as hardworking as you are, who's got a $500 million, and you throw your hands up. You say the system must be rigged. Let's unrig the system. That's what I'm here for. Let's unrig the system, teach people how this system works, and let's improve capitalism and free enterprise, not destroy it. We have a beautiful America for all our problems. And my second great grandfather was a slave and grandmother. For all of our problems, he served Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War. For all of our problems, it's the greatest country in the world.
Amen. Amen. Well said. I do want to talk about financial literacy, and I want to talk about the traps that people fall into if they are financially illiterate. It seems to me, John, that we don't do enough in our education system. We don't start early enough in teaching our children about financial literacy. And as a result, oftentimes they make poor decisions right out of the bat. They get too far, too deep into debt. They are saddled and they can't get out. And so this other side that you talk about, getting to this place of success, seems unachievable because we've dug ourselves a hole. Sometimes we fall into it and it seems hard to get out of it. Talk about that and greater financial literacy as a precursor to people finding freedom, understanding the system, starting to look at things through an economic and not a political lens, which I think, by the way, we would be better for if we did.
Yeah, the color's not black or white, racial, or red or blue, political. The color is green. Economic. And by the way, it's always been green. And we don't have time on your show to unpack all of American history, but that I've documented it in my book, Capitalism For All, and people can come to Marshall University, go to a library, go on your phone and ask AI that question of where did capitalism come from, where did our problems come from, where did growth come from? Most rich people started out poor. And so, I mean, the story of Sam Walton, I mean, he didn't even hit until he was in his mid-50s, and he failed his first time out. He was gamed by his landlord who stole his business idea. And he ended up in Bentonville, Arkansas by accident because the first place failed. And he started the store and he wanted to put Walton Mart on the wall, but he couldn't afford all the letters. So he called it Walmart. And so he failed forward. If you don't quit, you can't fail. So what I'd say is just because you don't, you can make a mistake and not be one. I grew up in these poor zip codes and poor neighborhoods, but I never gave up. And anybody listening to this, whether you're a child, whether you have children, or whether you're the adult, there's no shame in making a mistake. We all do that.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn. That's right. And so a saint is a sinner that got up, you know. And I'm looking at the credit scores here in one of your cities. I've got a 616 credit score in Huntington, West Virginia. I got a 707 credit score, and I don't think it's pronounced Hurricane. That's an interesting name.
Hurricane.
West Virginia. That's 27 miles away. Not a state away, not 3 counties away, 27 miles away. You got a life expectancy rate of 69 years in Huntington versus 84 years in Hurricane. I'll get this right. Well, that's financial literacy. That is the power of. It's not a credit score. The credit score is not. It's a trending indicator. What I'm saying of hope, well-being, belief, faith, confidence. Because whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. You've got a home ownership rate that's in the teens in Huntington, 16% versus 80% in the zip code next door. That's wealth creation. That's financial literacy. By the way, it's the difference between access to capital cheaply or nosebleed access to capital in a place like Huntington. And so if you get the average credit score up, all the problems begin to go away. Opportunity rises. The sun comes up in the morning. These are things you can solve yourself. I can't solve racism. I can't solve political stupidity. But I can solve my credit score, right? I can change that. That's what my team at Operation Hope is doing. That's what we're working with Brad and his wife about here at Marshall University around our Operation Hope work. And so I like this because it's a problem that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's resolvable. And you're right, we're not teaching financial literacy in our schools, in our households. One of the reasons I'm so optimistic about this, it's not like we giving folks the memo on financial literacy and we screwed it up. They never got the memo.
John Hope Bryant is joining us. He's an entrepreneur, author of the new book, Capitalism For All. There's a lot of angst right now about AI, how that is going to impact specifically the middle class, people who have these jobs that AI could potentially replace them. Is AI a threat, or is it an emerging tool that can lead to some of these things that you're talking about for those middle class employees and middle class earners?
It's both. I'm co-chair of the Financial Literacy for All initiative with the CEO of Walmart. It was CEO of Walmart, Doug McMillan. Now it's the CEO of Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian. I just came off a Delta plane last night, by the way, and all the people on the plane, the attendants were like, "Thank you very much," because of us, they got financial literacy and an emergency savings account from Delta of $1,000. So we're their coach. But the next level of this is that your job's not going to be replaced by AI. Your job's going to be replaced by somebody who can use AI. So I'm co-chair of the AI Ethics Council with Sam Altman, who I think is potentially the Steve Jobs, if he plays it properly, of this generation. And I'm not going to get ahead of him, but I think you'll see in the next couple of months some statements from him and I where we're changing the discussion around artificial intelligence. I'm not going to get ahead of the conversation with him, but I think you're going to find that. So if you have an old school job, real talk, and you refuse to change, you're toast. Anything that can be processed, automated, anything that's clunky with a lot of moving parts, that robotics is going to replace that. Automation is going to replace that. Technologies, it's already happening, by the way. It's going to replace that. And we can give all kind of examples for that. No different than you went from long form math to a calculator. If you can save time, it's going to happen. We went from the horse and buggy to the automobile, by the way. That was 60 years. This is going to be 6. I'll say that again slowly. That was 60 years, 1850 to 1910, horse and buggy to automobile, right? And by the way, jobs dipped because 1 out of 10 jobs was a farrier in 1850, 60, 70, into 1900. But 1910, the biggest use of biggest use of a horse was glue. But then jobs surged on the back end of the Industrial Revolution and automation and manufacturing, and now jobs were easier, they were safer, they paid more. The middle class was created when Henry Ford paid them enough to buy the automobiles they were making. You're going to see job dips here because of what I just told you, old jobs being cycled out. And then you're going to see a job surge with people with new skills. And this is one of the things I want to talk about here in West Virginia for jobs that have not even been created yet. Let's take for a moment an AI. People talk about these AI data centers. On balance, they're probably net losers if you don't structure it properly. That's why it's leadership. So it's not a lot of people working at an AI data center. But the tax base, if you negotiate it properly, can be incredible. Okay. Now, and there's economic development and economic empowerment. Those are two different things. You need 100,000 new electricians in America. Sorry, 500,000 new electricians in America. Sorry. Just to handle the maintenance on the data centers. That's a six-figure job. You're going to have somebody who's going to have to maintain those data centers, going to maintain the automation, going to upgrade the software. Who's going to do that? Those jobs, those careers don't even exist yet. So you need, if you love accounting, it's accounting and AI. You love radio, it's radio with automation, technology, and AI. You love whatever. Here's the magic part. If we get out of being afraid, everything's being recreated in your lifetime. And you get to pick, you get to now pick the thing you like, the thing you love, obsess about that thing, become the expert with AI in that thing, own the future in your town or city with that thing. Somebody's listening to this who's a little small entrepreneur. You and I were growing up, you and I had a website 5-10 years ago. We paid $25,000 for your website for your show. Whoever did the website, I guarantee you it was 25 grand. If somebody comes to now and says, hey, I can do your website with AI and automation and scheduling and technology, I can redo it for $500 and add AI to it. Wouldn't you say yes? Mm-hmm. By the way, now you should think about how many businesses in West Virginia and in Charleston and in Huracan and whatever have an old website that can be updated for $500. Well, it costs you with AI next to nothing to do that. $50 maybe it costs you. See, the profit margin on that is through the roof. Now you've got all these orders. You did it with nothing. You need to hire somebody now to process the orders. You need to hire somebody to do the work of setting up the additional websites, to do the marketing, the customer service. Those are jobs. Those are new jobs. Now you have another county that says, I want that same thing too. That's another office. Those are new jobs. See what I'm saying? So it's going to be a death. Walmart's not a great example. Blockbuster could have been Netflix, but they lack vision.
Yeah.
Sears could have been Amazon. They were the original mail order catalog. They had all of our parents' information. They blew it. And you can go Kodak. Remember there was a Kodak booth?
Film.
In every parking lot in America, they blew the future. So if you can hold on to this thing and say, I don't want anything to change, and you're going to be economically dead.
So John, let me ask you there, will AI help us to get rid of our aversion when it comes to change? So instead of fearing change, we will start to embrace it. And will it also help us to rid ourselves of our fear of risk and help us embrace taking more calculated risks, developing new businesses sooner than we ever have?
That's an excellent question. And you just confirmed that why you're the statewide leader in your field. No one ever asked me that question that way. I think the answer is yes. When you're being run out of town, get in front of the crowd and make like a parade. Never let a crisis go to waste. If this happened over 60 years, you could sort of avoid it. If this was the 8-track tape or the cassette tape or even the internet, you could avoid it. You could say, I don't want to do that. This is going to be everywhere. Please hear me, audience. This is not optional, right? Now, this is very much like the 100 automobile manufacturers that jumped up in 1900 to 1910. Most of them failed. You're going to have a bunch of AI companies that we're throwing all this money into. By the way, there's no way that you get a return on investment on the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that have been thrown into all these companies. There's going to be a lot of people who go out of business. There are going to be a few winners. Those winners will help us cure cancer within 10 years. Hello? Will help us solve all kind of problems that have bedeviled us. It will extend our way of life. You're going to have the best medical care for that doctor's office in a little town in West Virginia that you've ever had, because you're going to have AI agent with the doctor. Now, there's a 2% chance we'll end the world with AI. But by the way, and I'm not making light about it, that was the case with nuclear bombs. That was the case with nuclear technology in World War II. That was the case. This is not the first time that human beings have been given power by God that we have to make a choice about, and we could have been idiots. Some of us have been idiots. This is yet another opportunity to me, it's a test from God. What are you going to do with this? You can take a butter knife and you can butter bread and feed your neighbor, or you can use it to try to cut your neighbor's throat. You make the choice, right? Or you can kill yourself with it, I guess, if you push hard enough. So, yes, I am positive about the future. I say, let's butter the bread. I say, let's find new bread. I say, let's make some bread together. I say, let's use it as a tool. Let's see the positive in it. And I do believe you're living in a moment in history that we have never experienced, and it's going to force us out of our comfort zones. And I think that's a good thing. And I really think America is going to find a way through this. We're going to embrace each other. We're going to embrace this new technology. And we're going to find you have more jobs. The problem is the gap in between, gentlemen. You're going to have job loss. And we can talk about, I can literally tell you, like going through your airport, where the jobs, I can see jobs dying as I walk down the street. I can tell you that job's gone, that job's gone, that job's gone. It's there, but it's gone. Then you have 2 or 3 years where our national leaders, to me, have been inelegant. They've not planned for the future. The Department of Education shouldn't be canceled, shouldn't be closed down. Give it a new mission to upskill AI education for a whole generation of everybody in AI skills. What do you do? What are we doing? It should be the new Marshall Plan. We should have a no pun intended, Marshall University. Have a Marshall Plan for America. We had a Marshall Plan in World War II with the GI Bill. That's where the middle class came from. The modern middle class came post-World War II with GIs returning, and the GI Bill gave you a shot for new skills, an internship, apprenticeship for new skills, a college education, a shot at home ownership. It was an investment from the public, the government, in human capital, economic empowerment of the individual. And so 70% of the economy today is consumer spending. People don't know that. That's financial literacy. 70% of the biggest economy on the planet is you and me going for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, paying car notes and rent. So that means that 90% of the GDP is in cities, like where we are right now. So yes, I overanswered your question, but it was an excellent question. This is going to force us in 6 years, and we're already 2 years into it, to change. And I believe that's a beautiful thing.
He's John Hope Bryant. He's an entrepreneur, businessman. He's CEO of Operation Hope. He's the author of the new book, Capitalism For All, and he'll be sitting down with Marshall University President Brad Smith for one of Brad's fireside chats. John, we appreciate the time today. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your latest visit to West Virginia.
Thank you very much. I hope to be back very, very soon. I look forward to meeting you in person.